I'm Adriana Dakin. I'm co-CEO of Imagine Pod, as well as Strategy and Partnerships Director with the Community Foundation of Mendocino County. And those two hats play really well together. It's been a great thing to do both. And I have a background in public policy, 2 decades of work with nonprofits on strategies, digital audits, lots of campaigns, both marketing and fundraising. I worked for the Clinton Foundation back in the day that cut my teeth there on fundraising outreach. It's been amazing to have a global career while living in a small town. And one thing I really appreciate is bumping into people all the time, even though I'm from San Francisco, where I knew more people and had a bigger network. So love the relationship building here. And one thing that we're going to do right now to start to get centered here with each other, to be fully focused and present, is to think about what are your intentions for this session here today at this end of year time. So we'll take a quiet moment, put your feet firmly on the ground. You can wiggle your 10 toes, feel your seat on the chair. This helps us be here right now, coming in from our busy lives out in the world. So if you want, you can close your eyes or not. Hear the furthest sound away from you. Think about what it is and hear the closest sound to you. Might be your breathing or something else, or my voice. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and share verbally or in chat what your intention is for this workshop or this end of year season. Diana says, grow our fundraising muscle. Crystal, coming into 2025 with a new mindset on fundraising. Awesome. My specialty is mindset. Love that. Parna says, finding strength, models, community. Yes. And Charlie says, working from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. Wonderful. And mine is to really be fully present here this whole time for you, helping to generate ideas, listening, helping guide through the workbook that we have, and just being available also after this, but for right here, right now, being fully present. Monica, new strategy and knowledge around fundraising. Wonderful. Great group of people. So keep sharing if you haven't yet. And we will now do a very short training. I'll move through it pretty quickly because I just want to make sure that we have time for discussion, cross-pollination of ideas. So we'll go through some fundraising concepts to just get our heads warmed up to be in the same space. And we'll use a decision matrix exercise to create a powerful belief for ourselves, for each of us, and then work through some campaign exercise. And we'll look at some examples. So here we go. All right, end of year fundraising and welcome. So we just got centered, present, focused. I hope you feel that greater ease from doing that intention setting exercise. And now to center ourselves around some ideas of why we're doing this right here, right now. The final 3 days of December are the biggest giving days, 10 to 12%. Now we also want to take holiday vacations. So of course there are ways that we can set things up with emails and social posts going out automatically. But we also have office hours. We have half-an-hour chunks of time so that you don't have to be doing this solo, and you can have this little bit of fun while getting it done with me and a couple of others who are all similarly doing this. So if you're not quite ready with everything lined up in your automation, which I'm guessing you're not because we're here doing it right now, we have support for that to make it more fun and enjoyable. 58% of donors complete donations through their mobile devices. So that makes it really important to use a platform that works really well and easily on mobile. And the last 2 days bring in more revenue for some organizations than even Giving Tuesday. It's 5 of the donations throughout the whole year come in on the 31st. So we want some of those to go to your organizations. This year, Giving Tuesday did see a dramatic increase in giving, but most of the people that I talk with do not see much happening on Giving Tuesday, actually, because it's such a big distracting time. It's right after Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. It's so frenetic and lots of matches going on. It's hard to rise above the fray, right? But at this time of year, we're now getting into a more quiet time. People are going on vacation. So what you do, share will be able to get more attention, basically. So I want to give you that as hope. Even if you didn't see an amazing result on Giving Tuesday, this is a different time of year, and so many donations are made after Christmas. Now, we want you to get your workbook. It's a Google Doc, and it'll prompt you to make your own copy of it. Simple Google Doc with a welcome letter, so you can see my fellow collaborator. There's one exercise to begin with that we'll do momentarily. So I want you to just be able to get it now while I go through the next couple of things. I was really happy to hear that some of you really want to work on your mindset. It's like weaving together mindset, strategy, smart technology, actions, and we start with mindset so that you have a powerful decision at the base of what you do, because the actions that you take when you're in a powerful frame of mind and have made a very clear decision about why you're doing this are different from the action steps that you take when you're thinking from a more limiting or fearful place, like I'm scared of making the ask, or I'm afraid of rejection, or I can't cut through all the noise. So we work on powerful mindset, then strong strategy, bringing it together with smart technology like GiveButter and DonorBox and others, and then aligned action taking. If you have everything lined up with the actions coming out of your powerful mindset and your strategy, and you have technology working for you, not against you, then you are ready to go. So number one in this, what we want to convey is that this is relationship building. So it's really a win-win. Even if you don't make your financial number, if your goal is relationship and community building, then you will be winning for the long term. And more donations do come in when you do focus on relationships and communities. People give because of the people who are asking them often. That's one of the main things. Yes, they want a tax deduction, but they do care about who's asking and what the cause is and really what the impact is. So offer multiple ways to be involved. In the foundation where I work, we have volunteers working in committees, and some of them do become donors. They might do a planned giving for their legacy or put in some money into a pooled sector fund. But first of all, they were volunteers with us. And other ways are sharing, giving a testimonial, introing a friend, welcome it all. And some of those will also lead to money, which is also so necessary. And then number three, lean into showing your specific impact. And we'll do that when we're starting to work on your campaign draft. So what is your impact in your community and the world? This helps convey what your theory of change is so that people who participate with you know the difference that you're making. And you want to be very specific with it in your end of year campaign, even echoing your giving levels with $25 does this and $100 does that. I loved getting top challenges, and these are what they are. See if you recognize yours and take a look at what the challenges of others are who are in the CE network and signed up for this workshop. Finding donors to support at any level over $1,000, so the bigger donors. Finding and retaining consistency with donors and collectors. Creating a system. Yes, always good to have a system rather than one-offs. Fundraising for demographically specific programming. Yes, so you're getting niche, it sounds like. Our biggest challenge is building a donor base and turning existing donor supporters into evangelists to other prospects. Okay, so it's that base that you're working on, relationships, increasing new donors. Happily, one thing about this time of year is you don't necessarily need to focus on new relationships, but cultivate the relationships that you have and deepen them and invite donations. So don't be looking for new leads, but yes, looking for new donors is great from the relationships that you have. Now, somebody said one challenge is starting, just that, starting. That is actually a common one. People don't know exactly where to start and it feels overwhelming. Then somebody who signed up like a minute before we started said donor pipeline growth is the top challenge. Do these represent what you're experiencing as well? Aparna says moving beyond big foundation grants. Yes, those are good too, but it's good to have a diversified income stream. And things can change so fast. So it's good to be able to pivot in different areas at different times. Diana says fundraising from businesses. So, some campaign examples. Let's get down to getting inspired and seeing what you like about different campaigns so that you are in your mind starting to generate some ideas for your end of year campaign. And you may already have some ideas because you work with great organizations. So, here's a woman, Tracy, whom I worked with the day after Giving Tuesday, which was a flop for her, as it is for so many others. She comes from a professional career. Don't remember if it was CPA or real estate, but now she is running an organization, the Lantern Network. And while we were talking, I led her through a decision matrix that you have in the playbook, the fundraising success PDF that I gave to you initially when you first signed up. We went through that full matrix thinking, what is her North Star area of want? What's holding her back from that? What's the decision, the decisive, powerful decision that she wants to make? What's the evidence that this is the right decision and that it's already happening? And then out of that, what are the action steps? And so she created a very simple action plan of making a certain number of calls per day. And now we're already at the holidays. You won't be able to probably do that. Maybe you could do some to your networks. Calls are a really powerful thing to do. It's not easy moving somebody to open their wallet, and it's highly worth doing real old-fashioned relationship building with calls. So if you were able to make a couple per day, that's great. But at this point, you also might only feel comfortable sending some text messages during those last 3 days of the year, writing some emails in an automated thread, or that you just send each day. We have those office hours and you can come and create your message. And then while you're sitting there in office hours, so that you're not lonely over the vacation while doing it, and then just get it out and see what happens. She had wanted to call 10 people per day, but each person she called needed some catching up. And so if you have a network that's already caught up on what you're doing, then you might be able to do 10 per day. She could just do 5, but it resulted in $94,000 that she wouldn't have otherwise had. So that was an average of 3,000 per donor. And it was those calls that made a difference, like those meetings. So I hope you take that to heart if you're wanting donations that are on the higher side and more of them, that it's really fruitful connecting with people. Most people don't get a call from a nice person in their network, and so you can really stand out. She did this campaign on DonorBox, and you'll see that there are the different levels that I was talking about, like sponsor a mentor for 1 month at $25. The impact of her story can be echoed in the tiers that you set up. You can have descriptions of what each amount does. Another example from a woman named Danila, who runs a disaster relief organization that has built a lot of goodwill. And this fall in our incubator, she created a campaign that she's now running as her end of year campaign. So she did get it started earlier, so don't be chagrined about, it already has $94,000. But it's an all volunteer organization, small team, couple people, just a lot of good volunteer work. And they have built up so much goodwill, which is something that you all have done too. You've been out there working in the communities, making things happen. So some of that goodwill can turn into money now at this time of year. This is on GiveButter, which is a platform that I love to use. Super easy on the back end, really great on the front end. And so, for example, when I click donate, she's done this simply. She hasn't put in levels like $10 will buy a shirt for a kid who needs it after a wildfire, whatever it is. She hasn't done that. That could be a next step for her. But she has created a story. This is a video that you can embed at the top of your campaign. She has a goal meter, so she set it at 200,000, and she has a $100,000 match. A match helps to increase giving by 3 to 5 times. And now we're getting towards the holidays, so it could be very hard to put together a match right now. But if you were able to, that would be such a good investment. Like if you were able to do a couple of calls today to somebody whom could provide a match, perhaps. Maybe it's not $100,000 match, but maybe it's, I don't know, 5,000 or 10,000. It will increase the number of donations because people love to make an impact, especially with their donation. So she created a story, shared some images, included some bullets. People love them some bullets so that they can read things easily and quickly. One thing that's incredible to have in a donation platform is this donor wall. So you can see the momentum of it, and people can write encouraging comments, and some of them can become testimonials for you that you can copy and save. So there's that example. Another example is this one that somebody in our incubator has just started on DonorBox, and it's just getting going. So I'm going to reach out to her and say, let's do this. Don't lose your momentum. You have a great campaign here. She put a lot of time into it, but then it's been several weeks. And so I need to encourage her to keep going with her end of year campaign. So in this end of year time, if you do launch your campaign, we have a fund of about 1,600 where we'll take prize donations and put it into your campaign when you launch it. So for example, this is 100 that went to her. And this is one CEN member, Iman Gernati, who's in our incubator, who created a campaign on Give Butter with her colors. So she changed the default yellow to her brand color. And we worked with her to create her campaign name, her subtitle. She had a board member create a short 1-minute video. And now she's slowly reaching out to her network. This is an example where she's just reaching out 1 or 2 people per day, not to a big list, but this is the way that works for her. So I'm showing different types of examples to really, so that you can get a sense for what would work for you. And she's set a goal of $5,000 and is really enjoying this process of relationship building with people. Some things to recap with best practices. Getting a matching donation increases giving 3 to 5 times. Even if it's a small size, it makes a difference. Frequency. Many people are worried about bothering people too much, but people do need multiple touches to build their trust and for them to even notice it. And this is a time of year when focus on warm supporters is what you want to do. Don't even worry about bringing in new leads. Just focus on those who've interacted positively. So think through the last year. Maybe there are people who keep interacting with you on social media, who reply to your emails, who often click your emails. Those are the types of people you want to think through. Who are your warm supporters and focus on them with your end of year giving campaign. Now, gratitude, of course, it's always super important. So say you had people who gave it on Giving Tuesday or earlier in the year. It's a great moment to do some follow-up. And people who've given to you once are twice as likely to give to you again. You're thanking them, and you're also giving them the opportunity, if they want to give again at this end of year time period. And they might have a sense, having worked with their CPA or something, that they might want to do some end of year gifts for tax purposes, and then you can benefit. So of course, multiple channels is important as a best practice, and trying to touch people 7 times. At this time of year, it might be hard to mobilize on all the channels. Your assistants and your program staff might be going off on vacation, but just do what you can to be able to have multiple touches and not worry about reaching people too often, because you want the word to spread about what you're doing. Another Give Butter example, a woman in Tennessee who's just started her nonprofit. She also has a store. So she's introducing her campaign in a video, super easy to embed. All you're doing is creating a video, which you can do on your iPhone. You can upload it to YouTube, and then in Give Butter, you just put that YouTube link right in here on the back end. And I can show you in office hours how to do all this so that it's up and running quickly. I want to help you move into action and have strategy meet culture, and the real world help to inform you with new ideas for what you can do. Another Give Butter example is this Native American woman who came to speak at our incubator, super inspiring the work that she does, going to tribal reservations, bringing food. And now she's raising money for a freeze dryer. So she has this campaign that's specifically about buying a freeze dryer. And I'm mentioning this because maybe you have something specific. Sometimes being really specific helps to mobilize people. You have a real purpose and something that will make a tangible difference. So she's raising money to be able to freeze dry food for Pomo Native Americans here in Mendocino County to have more healthy food and helping to solve a health problem. She goes around speaking about this and now can reach out to the people that she spoke to with her campaign. So now we have an exercise for you, and you downloaded the workbook. Sometimes it's important to not be falling asleep in a workshop. I welcome you to move around. This is a Google Doc workbook. It has an exercise that we're about to do on making a powerful decision for this specific year-end time, so that the action steps you take that are like Tracy's leading to steps that are aligned with the powerful decision that you make. And then we'll go into campaign planning. Go to page 4, the exercise to make a decision for this year end. This is a shorter version of the decision matrix so that we can get to campaign planning, but we want to do that campaign planning with this powerful decision in mind. So think now about what is the area that you most want success in this year-end season with, like building relationships with people who care about your work, raising money to rebuild an amazing new event space. Whatever it is, think about your big area of want here. And take a moment to do that. And then think about what your new powerful decision is, what you've decided. There might be something holding you back. We went through those challenges. What might be holding you back might be, I've never done this before. We don't have a system for this. We are not able to find donors to support us at over $1,000. I don't know where to start. These are all examples of limiting beliefs that hold people back from doing their best in fundraising or in whatever it is in life. If you're thinking like, I don't know where to start, or we don't have any growth in our pipeline, the actions that you take from those kinds of limiting beliefs are different from the actions you'll take when you make a powerful decision. Does that make sense from your experience too? Now, to incentivize people, as I mentioned, we have a fund. So when you launch, I cannot wait to put money into it from our Imagine Pod Impact Flow Fund. So just showing up in this workshop gets you on the way towards having money put into it. Each gift will be about $200 or so for a prize. We'll write a comment, it'll go on your wall, it'll show publicly, so then it can be leveraged for having more activity and more momentum. So you just show up, come to an office hour session to show your EOI campaign, spread your campaign to your network, and once you've brought in at least $50, that's when we know that, okay, you're getting it out there. We want to put in ours too to help you build momentum. Before we go into our campaign work session to help each other create those campaign ideas that you can then copy and paste right into a platform like GiveButter or DonorBox or whatever you're using, we offer more end of year support, as I said, and we have an incubator. The next cohort will start in January. And it's been amazing having the wealth of this brain trust of people all doing this and having guidance from us. And then we bring in experts. In late October, we brought in Celeste Flores, who's the US and Canada Hub Director of Giving Tuesday. And she gave a really great half-an-hour presentation, which you might have seen when you filled out the form, to help people be part of this generosity movement in a way that you can't lose. So you're building relationships, and then those relationships lead to more money in your pipeline eventually. So let me know if you want a calendar invite to the office hours, if you want to know more about the incubator. This is our schedule for office hours so that you don't have to get it all done today and not have support after this. The incubator starts in January. We'll have 45-minute sessions. It's made for busy people and with a mini training and discussion like this, but more interactive, because once you're in an incubator, you're really getting to know the other people and giving your ideas to them, and it's less just me talking. I'll just give a mini training to get people on the same page, and the mini trainings are on visioning your year ahead, because that's an important thing to do in January, and setting your goal, mapping your audience journey to becoming a donor, because from being a stranger to a donor, there's this whole process often that needs to happen. Then we will talk in the third week about defining your ideal audience and niching down. I have a lot of experience working with people on their personas and creating who exactly their ideal audience is, and thinking about this so that they can create content that's really specific to them. And the ironic thing is that when you get really specific with whom you're talking to, it actually appeals to a broader audience. Then in week 4, we'll be sharing impact with a theory of change for powerful messaging. By the way, all of this is all free. It's funded by GiveButter and DonorBox, so you don't have to be worried that I'm pitching. We asked them to fund us. We went to them and we've been developing their sponsorship for over a year, asking them to please do this because organizations out there are very hardworking. They're high impact and they're under-resourced, especially women and people of color. We are undercapitalized historically, and we are still undercapitalized, and we want to do our part to help change that. So we have sponsorship from the tech platforms so that you don't have to pay for it, and hopefully you like that. In week 5, we're building relationships with short form video storytelling. And you can't cover all of that in 15 minutes, but we do have a 9-module course in our Substack that people can go to if they want to go into depth. And we brought in 4 experts to help guide people through their theory of change and their video editing, their outreach, everything. Okay, week 6, we'll do tracking your metrics to lean into successes. I've done a lot of metrics informed work. And sometimes when you're moving fast, you don't take the time to see and document what works best and then get new ideas from that to lean in further. Week 7 will be staying the course with a powerful mindset. Actually, this will be woven in throughout because we need powerful mindsets for all of this work. We're going into a challenging year and things are going to be happening. We need a powerful mindset. Together we rise. Then week 8 will be empowering team members. I often work with board members and customers and donors to help give things like social kits and ways for them to share. So it's not just you, because people trust their friends. It's great to have ads, but it is very important to empower your team members to be able to share what you're doing to spread word. So let's have some fun now while we're preparing for your end of year campaign. Now you whip open your end of year workbook and go to page 5. And here's where you'll plan out your campaign. So we were just talking about ideal donors. We'll have a whole session on this in our incubator. But for now, think about whom you've been communicating with, who has resources that they can donate from, whom would you want to move into action. Just briefly describe whom your ideal donor is. You can just take one sentence or so. Maybe there's somebody who's given and you want to find more of that type of person. Because you want your campaign title and subtitle all to appeal to this ideal donor type. So take a minute there. If you're starting to plan out your campaign in the workbook, we just want to help people move into action so that you come away from this session with your campaign draft in hand, because then it's very easy to get it going by the end of the year. It's the fundraising workbook. Make a decision is on page 4, and then plan out your campaign is on page 5. Amazing. I love ongoing work with people. It's good to have a workshop to get things started, but when we can keep following up and refining and giving you new, better ideas, when we know you, we can have you on our radar and look for opportunities and to get your way. So take some moments to just write down your ideal donor, your campaign title, your subtitle, and onwards through that one section of the workbook, and then we can work on them together. Mike says we preserve historic places. Our ideal donor has a connection to the places we identify as in jeopardy. Great. Yeah, we have a persona template that we can use if you're in the incubator and we're working together, or I can just get you the template to really go into the psychographics and demographics of this person so you can really imagine being in their shoes and what their challenges are, what their motivations are. And then it can really help when you're writing your content to think, would this person, you can name your donor, like Mike, the historic places lover, and think about, would this appeal to them? One thing that's a great thing to do at this time of the year is a recap of the year, like thinking through January all the way to December, and maybe it's like month by month, a little paragraph. Maybe that could be something in your campaign package where you're looking back at the year and looking forward. It's like inventorying while creating your vision for the next year. Give Butter has a really good free version. It's working really well. People are loving the ease on the back end and the front end, and it's free. And often when you're fundraising, it's nice to have all the money going towards your programs rather than some to the platform. And the way that they make money is there are optional tips that people can give. So when somebody is giving a certain amount, there's an optional tip that you can just toggle off easily if you're a donor. But some people do give, and that's how the platform makes their money. I do fundraising professionally, but I've also done it personally. And one thing that I really like to do to get some momentum going with a campaign is because I believe in the campaigns that I do, and you believe in your campaign, we each have personal networks that we can mobilize, and people give often because of trust and relationships. So one thing I like to do is create an email where I might be asking people to give or to share. Asking for a share is a good way to do it because then you're not putting pressure on somebody, and then their walls of resistance don't come up. With sales and donors, there's often a wall like, oh, they're going to sell me something, and so people protect themselves. And so when you're asking for something that's a lower lift, like sending to your network, please share this, then people take a look at what they are being asked to share, and then they might get inspired without their wall being up. And so then it's more of this transparent thing where you're interacting more with their real feelings than their guardedness. And so I put together an email in, say, my Gmail, my own Gmail. Gmail stores people's addresses pretty well. So I start typing in A, B, and just see who pops up in the drop-down list in Gmail who might be interested. Like, oh yes, she might be interested. So then you can get some momentum going with your personal network because you're doing this in part for personal reasons, right? And then you can start showing some momentum and go wider, like to Facebook page and to your full email list when it shows some momentum from the people who really care about you. Even if they don't care about the specific cause, they probably care about you, right? That's why birthday campaigns often work really well. Baby steps are good. Break it down to the smallest steps so it doesn't feel overwhelming. You don't want to be held back by feelings of overwhelm or like, I don't know where to start. Just think through what are those little things. You're asking your powerful brain with your decision in mind that you're ready to do this. Then you're asking your brain, what is the best next step right now for this that I can do in the next 30 minutes or something, some bite-sized amount of time? Because then you don't get stuck in inaction and it all starts adding up to a great thing that you've achieved. It's really helpful to know what you're taking away here right now. I have a lot of experience bringing in millions for racial justice, social equity, forest lands, many different causes, lots of organizations, and our brains can be here together. Aparna, you're saying incremental steps can build to what we hope to do in 2025. Yes, I'm in a coaching program called Positive Intelligence. And one thing I'm learning there is how the saboteurs can get in the way of ourselves. Even being a high achieving person, hyper achieving can be a saboteur because you can wear yourself down, for example, or your saboteur might be avoiding. And so you need to find these little steps to get the momentum going and then celebrate. You really celebrate even the small steps that are meaningful towards that bigger picture. I think this is very common to be uncomfortable with asking. It's the most common thing, like when we've run a survey of like 2,000 people, it's like they all have the same script of I'm afraid of making the ask. I'm afraid of rejection. And it's so widespread. So doing some training, some role plays, helping people see that this is not about themselves. Like if there's rejection, it's not rejection of them. It's just a no for now. It might become a yes later. It can take 7 touches. You know, that proverb, of course, it can take more or less. People come at this discomfort from different angles. Some might be helped with a script. Some might be helped with role plays. So many are helped when you transform it to, will you share this with your network? Because sharing is such an easy thing for people to be able to do and hard to say no to. And then some of them will want to donate themselves and get involved and show their participation before or during sharing it with their own networks. I just thought of one thing you might be interested in. I created this campaign in GiveButter. I want to show you this one feature where you can have team members. So some people might be more comfortable when they're doing this campaign as team members, and it can instigate a little bit of good competitive spirit. So imagine several of my colleagues here. Some people benefit from Strava, the exercise app. It gets them exercising when they're in a community with other people, and it propels them forward. If they see other people are making progress, I need to go do that too. And then maybe you have some, I don't know if your team would be up for this, but maybe some weekly half-hour sessions on like Fridays or Wednesdays or whenever to help people with their mindset and their practices and their tactics around it. And it would be worth it. They would become more confident people and feel more involved. You never know what amazing things could happen. So this is just one capability that if you use GiveButter or some other platform that does this, you can show all the team members and how much they've raised. I brought in funding from Kinship Earth, and so it came as a deposit. It didn't come through this, but on the back end of GiveButter, I could manually put it into this. So then we can show the progress of building this impact circle with funding from here and the fact that I helped bring it in. You can do this with auctions too. GiveButter has this cool auction capability where you can put together packages with people like your board members. Maybe you have a board member who owns a cabin somewhere, or maybe they have a favorite restaurant lunch place and they want to get a certificate and put it into the auction with a buy it now feature. So even if they're not doing funding conversations, maybe they can put something into the auction, and then it has this give get principle where, say, this person has this log cabin here and they don't want to make conversations, they don't want to talk with people about it, but they are willing to put this in here, and then those who bid on it get something in return for the money that they give. It facilitates some of the awkwardness. Does that make sense? I sat in a soccer parking lot at my daughter's warm up and put together this auction and then wrote to 147 people 2 emails, and it brought in $4,000 easily. So you can just imagine if you have a bigger list or board members who are all putting in something into the auction and then they're sharing it out to their networks, when you can really distribute leadership and when people are putting in something into this kind of auction that they're proud then to share, you can get a lot of sharing. I would love to do this. There's a Truth and Reconciliation Council for tribal wellness. And in California, there's been a lot of genocide in tribal history, and they need to raise money. And I would love to put together a big auction where I get the Awani to donate a week or something. You know, these organizations and businesses and people that have been involved in California for a long time. You need to think about your cause and then who are those that could be interested in the different ways. You can map it out. One time I did power mapping with the Sierra Club, and that was helpful to have it all mapped out and see where the creative ideas start coming in. You can kind of gamify this fundraising thing when it's crowdfunding. When it's grant writing, it's like you in the office putting together these huge proposals. With crowdfunding, you can take advantage of the tech capabilities and the people networks and people's competitive spirit for a good cause. Well, we're at time, and I want to thank you so much. I have one inspiring image to show you from where I am here in Northern California, which is this beautiful redwood forest. And just to leave you on a beautiful image. I want to really thank you for this time working with you. It's been such an honor to work with your amazing organizations, and I really hope to stay in touch. See you all later.